It started with a newspaper article, a real transport plane hauling real prisoners that inspired a Hollywood thriller that no one expected to go this far. The studio wanted something grounded. What they got was a director who pushed everything bigger, a tone that refused to stay in one lane, and a production that spiraled into chaos. So how did a simple concept meant to avoid cliches become one of the most chaotic and unpredictable action films of its time? Let's find out. This is the story of Con Air.
For Cameron Poe, it was his first day of freedom in 8 years. He was going home to his family.
Con Air follows Cameron Poe, a decorated Army Ranger imprisoned for involuntary manslaughter after killing a man in self-defense. Paroled after 8 years, he boards a prison transport flight aboard the Jailbird to reunite with his wife and daughter, only to find himself trapped when a group of dangerous inmates, led by Cyrus the Virus Grissom, hijack the plane. With U.S. Marshal Vince Larkin working from the ground, Poe secretly fights to take back control from the inside, protecting a diabetic friend and shielding a female guard.
You know what I am? Ugly all day.
The idea for Con Air began with a 1993 article in the Los Angeles Times about the U.S. Marshals prisoner transport system, commonly referred to as Con Air. Touchstone Pictures executive Donald DeLine read the piece and believed it could serve as the foundation for a high-concept action thriller. In 1994, Touchstone hired writer Scott Rosenberg, who had recently gained momentum from Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead. He spent days riding on actual prison transport planes, observing firsthand how the system worked. Studio executives made one thing clear: they did not want another Die Hard clone set on a plane. Instead, Rosenberg delivered a character-driven script centered on an ex-Army Ranger named Cameron Poe, who just wanted to get back to his family. With Scott Rosenberg's script in place and Jerry Bruckheimer producing, the next step was locking in the faces who would bring Con Air to life. And from the beginning, there was only one name at the top of the list: Nicolas Cage. Bruckheimer had Cage in mind from the start and hand-delivered the script to him during production on The Rock. Cage signed on quickly and dove headfirst into shaping Cameron Poe. He worked closely with Rosenberg and director Simon West, proposing Poe's military background as a former Army Ranger. He pushed for long, flowing hair instead of the neatly tied ponytail the studio preferred, and even came up with the stuffed bunny as Poe's gift to his daughter. But Cage didn't stop there. He visited Folsom Prison to speak with convicts, stuck to a strict macrobiotic diet, and trained obsessively while sober. Reports say he knocked out 71 arm push-ups and kept a mobile gym on set. He also gave Poe his southern drawl, which some critics later called uneven, but unmistakably Cage. For the villain, Bruckheimer first offered Cyrus the Virus to Bruce Willis, who passed. West then looked at Tom Sizemore, Willem Dafoe, and even Mickey Rourke. But West had someone else in mind: John Malkovich. He brought him in from France just days before shooting began. Steve Buscemi didn't need to audition. Rosenberg wrote Garland Green specifically for him, and the role was his from day one. John Cusack joined for the paycheck and the profile boost, but he still left his mark. He based Larkin's look on Charlton Heston's sandal-wearing action heroes, right down to the Birkenstocks. Off camera, he reportedly dismissed the project as a popcorn flick, but he stuck around and delivered a performance that balanced the madness around him. And around them all, a deep bench of talent filled out the roster with the likes of Ving Rhames, Dave Chappelle, and Danny Trejo, to name a few. Filming Con Air was a massive logistical effort, and problems were inevitable. With second unit work beginning on June 24, 1996, principal photography began shortly after in Salt Lake City. While most of the interiors of the transport aircraft were filmed in Hollywood Center Studios Soundstage No. 7, Wendover Airport in Utah stood in for the fictional Lerner Airfield. Director Simon West chose the barren and remote Wendover area because it looked like the surface of the moon. Other filming locations included Ogden Airport, where the exchange of prisoners is seen. The remote Utah and Nevada locations were grueling. Wendover had almost no facilities. The cast and crew improvised gym facilities and wrestled to blow off steam under 120-degree sun. During the 8-week Wendover shoot, tensions ran high. Actors worked out shirtless and fights broke out. Director West had them build a lunch hour dojo to spar. On August 29, 1996, special effects welder Philip Swartz, age 39, was crushed when a parked cargo plane model toppled onto him. He was transported to a hospital where he died. The film was dedicated to Swartz's memory. West's original plan was to smash the plane into the Mirage's volcano, but casino owner Steve Wynn refused. The crew got permission to use the Sands Hotel, which was already slated for demolition. At the time, it was just perfect for them to get in there and land their plane in the lobby before the hotel was blown up. They filmed the plane's descent partly with miniatures and then rammed the full-scale set into the actual casino structure. The stunt was so realistic that local residents phoned authorities to report a smoking plane in distress over the strip. Simon West insisted on practical stunts, including explosions, breakaway sets, and model work, with almost no blue screen. Despite the chaos, the production wrapped on schedule. The film premiered in Las Vegas in June 1997. It opened on 2,824 screens in the United States and Canada, topping the box office ahead of The Lost World Jurassic Park. In the following weekends, it dropped to second behind Speed 2 Cruise Control, and then third, but continued to perform strongly. The film went on to gross $224 million worldwide against a $75 million budget. Critical reception was mixed. Roger Ebert awarded the film 3 out of 4 stars, saying it moves smoothly and with visual style and verbal wit, although he criticized Cage for playing Poe as a slow-witted Elvis type who is very earnest and approaches every task with tunnel vision. Janet Maslin of the New York Times considered Con Air an exemplar of the thrill ride genre. Andrew Johnston of Time Out New York said producer Jerry Bruckheimer topped himself with the wildly entertaining Con Air. The film's climactic Las Vegas plane crash was ranked #1 on Maxim's 2007 list of the top 10 most horrific movie plane crashes, a choice that was mocked by Wired. After its theatrical run, Con Air was released across a variety of home video formats. The film's first appearance came as a demo VHS issued by Touchstone Home Video in 1997, followed by the official VHS release on December 9th, 1997. Laserdisc editions followed, with the standard version released on December 24th, 1997, and a DTS digital surround version released on July 1st, 1998. The initial DVD edition arrived on March 24th, 1998. An unrated extended edition was released on DVD by Touchstone Home Entertainment on May 16th, 2006. The Blu-ray edition of the film was released on January 8th, 2008. The soundtrack was released earlier on June 17th, 1997 through Hollywood Records. Composers Trevor Rabin and Mark Mancina created the score, with production by Paul Linford. One of the film's most recognizable musical elements, How Do I Live, was written by Diane Warren and performed by Trisha Yearwood for the soundtrack. Though used prominently in the film, the track was not included on the official album. Neither was Sweet Home Alabama, despite its presence on screen. Mick LaSalle of the San Francisco Chronicle criticized the film's soundtrack for being overwhelming, writing that it kicks into loud, obtrusive gear and remains so loud throughout the picture that it practically functions as a distancing device. Despite that, How Do I Live became a major awards contender. It was nominated for Best Original Song at the Academy Awards and for Best Song Written specifically for a motion picture or for television at the Grammys. Mark Mancina received a win at the BMI Film and TV Awards for film music.
Put the bunny back in the box.
I knew you was a punk, and I was right.
Con Air began as a grounded concept that the studio wanted to keep contained. Instead, it became an exercise in escalation. What started as a straightforward character drama turned into a large-scale production that pushed every scene further, with action expanded, locations stretched across the desert, and real planes flown and crashed under extreme conditions. The story on the page stayed intact, but the tone shifted in execution. Bruckheimer brought in humor. West added spectacle. The film veered between grounded realism and chaotic energy. Even its soundtrack sparked debate. The result was a movie that earned both Oscar nominations and Razzie nods and built a cult following over time. That's how a project built to avoid clichés became one of the wildest action films of its era. Not because it ignored its origins, but because it amplified everything around them. Next, we shift from chaos to control, a film that overcame doubt, defined a new tone, and helped relaunch a genre. This is the story of Batman. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more awesome content.